right, and we're live. Welcome to the first ever Goodfellas Podcast. I'll be your host today, Liquid. Got two special guests with us. We've got Kevin, leader of the Goodfellas, longtime member, one of the original founders of the clan. Maybe not the original founder, but I know he joined very early. And we've also got Onyx, former co-leader of the Goodfellas, currently co-leader in Rising. Longtime member. He's a real staple in the clan. He's legendary, and everybody knows him. So this is something we're hoping to do at least once a week. Get out, get to meet everybody in the clan. I want to get at least one or two people out and just talk a little bit about what makes them tick and get a little bit more personal. Bring back the social element to the game. So before I begin, if you have any suggestions for future topics, you can hit me up on Twitter at Liquid Gaming, or you can message me on GroupMe, or you can email me. I'll post my email address in the comments. But the first thing I want to do is we're going to do some introductions here. So if you could just tell me a little bit about your gaming history. What did you do to get into Clash, or how did you start clashing? What are some of the achievements you've done in the game, et cetera, et cetera. So Kevin, I'll let you go first if you don't mind.
Sure. So my entire gaming history has basically been around trading card games. I mean, I played video games like Nintendo and stuff like that with my brothers when I was younger, so it was always very competitive. But in terms of like a competitive, like a really high level competitive gaming scene, was when I got into trading card games with my local hobby shop. I played several games, most notably Magic the Gathering is probably the one that's most well known. I also played a game called the Versus System, which was based around comic book characters, and then a game called Yu-Gi-Oh! So I played all three of those games at kind of a very high level. Tried to kind of join the pro tour for each of those respective games. That's ultimately where I met Kayeffsea while we were both playing Yu-Gi-Oh! He was the number one player in the state of North Carolina. I was the number one player in the state of Virginia. And our teams kind of would consistently kind of travel to events together. So that's kind of where I really got like this high level mentality, kind of play games, kind of all in. I was able to play at my local hobby shop at kind of like a little bit of a lower level, but I found that I just wasn't getting the enjoyment that I did when I was able to travel to events. You know, you travel to events and there were 500, 600, 700 people. And the goal of those events is all the same throughout different trading card games, is to make the top 8. And then once you're in the top 8, you kind of do like an elimination style bracket. And I just really, really enjoyed my time doing that all the way up and through the end of my master's program. And then when I moved to Cleveland to start my doctoral program, I was kind of without a social circle, didn't have a game that I could necessarily go to with the amount of time that I have to spend working. Then one day, my cousin made a post about Clash of Clans on his Facebook. I had just gotten my new iPhone 4, and I was like, well, I'll just try it. I was downloading pretty much every app that I can get my hands on, just trying things out. And that one just kind of happened to stick. I knew immediately Clone Wars were already out by the time that I first started playing, and I knew that that was going to be the thing that would kind of draw me into the game. So I quickly kind of built up my main account to a Town Hall 8, and then with my girlfriend's Apple ID, started my second account as well, kind of with the long-term goal to, you know, max Town Hall 8 on both accounts and then just kind of stop. I think at the time Town Hall 9 was kind of like a super intimidating thing to me. I didn't think that I'd ever kind of get to that level of gameplay. But I was pleasantly surprised by the time that I kind of got there, how kind of easy it was. So that's kind of my brief gaming history and kind of how I got to Clash. Joined the Goodfellas at 9-2, and kind of built the clan up from there.
Okay, so you talked a lot about your history getting into gaming. What about a little bit of your Clash experience since you've joined?
Yeah, so like I said, I joined when war was already kind of a big thing. Now that said, I was a little bit more of, I guess, what you would say, a hands-on learner when I first started. I wasn't really big into like watching like YouTube videos and stuff like that. I got really sucked into the social aspect of the game, so just having to download GroupMe. I made co-leader in Goodfellas really, really quick, and we just had a lot of interesting social interactions that kind of tested, I guess, how a clan is run. So we had a group of kids from the United Kingdom that were in our clan for a long time. And so we were constantly talking about things like guys not getting their attacks in, or what happens when we clear most of the Town Hall 8s, you know, is it okay to go for loot? And so that part of the game was kind of what I spent, I'd say probably my first 6 months, like really dealing with. It started not even being about attacking and going for 3 stars and stuff like that. Just the metagame at the time for Goodfellas was pretty much all dragons. Like we didn't even know that there was this whole advanced level with hogs and stuff like that. So I guess that would be kind of like my introduction. The first 6 months of playing this game is different than any of the other time that I spent playing, just in terms of trying to figure out like how do we organize a clan, like a high level clan? How do we get it to work? How do you get buy-in? If you don't have buy-in, what do you do? Do you just kind of let certain people go? So lots of interesting dynamics happened in my first 6 months of playing.
Cool, man. I'm going to get back to that in a second because I know you're being modest. I know there's more there, but I'd like to get Onyx a chance to talk. So, Onyx, same question. Tell me a little bit about your gaming history and some of the stuff you've done in Clash since you joined.
Okay, my gaming history is not very long. I wasn't a gamer when I was growing up. More of the sports in it, but we were actually riding on a SWAT bus to a SWAT raid. When I look around and everybody's playing on their phones, this game, dropping barbarians and hearing people screaming and stuff. I asked them what it was. They told me about it, so I downloaded it, went and done the search warrant, came back, got into a clan because they told me, hey, if you buy some gems, you can gem it up. So in the first day, I was a Town Hall 5. Went from there. The clan was horrible. It was nothing. It was all just dump all the troops in one corner and pray that you get a star or two. Then I, of course, rushed to Town Hall 9. In my competitive nature, I wanted to get into something more, so I started looking up on YouTube. Found the power bangs, the one hives, all that, and then an old clan member of Goodfellas, Turbo, he hit me up and said, "Hey man, why don't you come to Goodfellas?" And I sent all my base and everything out to Kevin. He said, "Hey, you need this, this, and this before you can join us." So I hit the wife up. She got me that, and I joined up. I was a go wee wee guy when I joined, but then I fell into Kevin's regime after he told me, a few of them attacks were horrible, and then he guided me. Now I'm, straight go ho person.
Nice, man. Sorry,
Accomplishments. I'm just glad I'm still in Goodfellas. I'm higher quality now than I was a year ago when I started.
Nice, man. Yeah, I know there's been some up and downs in your tenure. I know that. We won't get into those details right now. But one thing, just for those that don't know, I guess based on your intro there, you're a cop, it sounds like?
Yes, I am a cop.
And you joined this game because a bunch of your cop friends were playing it on the way to some kind of a raid.
Yeah, we were actually going and arresting a homicide suspect with the SWAT team. I'm a canine handler, and they were all playing it. It's kind of a, how doctors laugh at stuff, cops laugh. It was just a cool down thing for us, keep our minds off of it. So I downloaded it and got addicted. And this is the only game I've ever really just played day in and day out.
Cool, that's really cool. Have you, outside of those two clans you mentioned, have you played in any other clans in your time?
Well, I thought I was going to be a big star and tried out for Emphatic Elite. Went over there, passed some of the stuff, and got accepted into the Emphatic Fury clan. Nothing against them guys, but it didn't feel like home, so I requested back to Goodfellas, and they accepted me back.
Very nice, very nice. Kevin, I know you've been very vague in your experience. Why don't you talk a little about some of the other clans that you've been in? You don't have to go into too much detail, but just to give people an idea.
Yeah, I gotcha. I understand the question now. So I was in Goodfellas at 9 and 2, just the one account, the Kayeffsea account, and then I created my second account, which was originally called Emily. It was my girlfriend's name. She gave up the game around Town Hall 4 or 5, and I took that over. Eventually, used the name change to change that to Blue Summers. So it was pretty much Kayeffsea and Blue Summers for I want to say probably the first year. And I remember Goodfellas got to a point where it kind of went through a little bit of a rough patch. just in terms of not so much winning and losing, but just in terms of getting guys to attack kind of in a very specific order, right? So Town Hall 8s go first in a Town Hall 9-8 clan. Then the Town Hall 9s kind of go from the bottom up because we weren't clearing all the 9s at that point in time. And there was just, I had a hard time as the leader at that time getting buy-in for that system. So I remember I took the Kayeffsea account and I joined Emphatic Elite. Just kind of sent a line message to Maddie. He responded to it pretty much within 10 minutes and was like, hey, like, I would absolutely love to have you in the clan. So I joined Emphatic Elite. That was it was back in the time when the interview process for Emphatic was literally just sending a message to Maddie. I did probably 3 or 4 wars in Emphatic Elite. I think my hero levels were like 10-10 or 15-10 or something like that. But then eventually they transitioned to a clan where you had to have both heroes up to war. So I ended up going over to Emphatic Fury with the Kayeffsea account. And then for about 3 or 4 months, I became a co-leader over there. I was kind of in charge of recruitment with another one of the leaders over there. And we kind of ran that clan for 3 or 4 months. So we pretty much brought in Town Hall 9s and 8s and kind of trained them up. And then kind of funneled them over to the main clan. Eventually, the point where the person that I was co-running the clan with had a very different style than I had. I guess you can describe it as almost I was kind of like the Pico over there, and he was kind of like the more hard ass. And it just got to the point where, people would apply, and the rule was that you had to have at least 20 heroes to apply, and people would apply with like 2019, and he would just absolutely just annihilate them for not reading the website. I was like, dude, like they're 1 hero level away. Like we can bring them into the feeder clan. So it just got to the point where it was just a little too hostile for me. So I had been watching some of PB's streams, and he and I had kind of been chatting on Kick for a few weeks. And so I left Emphatic Fury to go to WHF, and I was there with the Kayeffsea account for another 4 or 5 months. So now at this point, the Kayeffsea account is out of the Goodfellas clan for about 9 months. I think it was around this point where I created the third account. Originally, it was going to be a defenseless account, but then I realized that the Kayeffsea account was basically just grinding heroes. The Blue Summers account was already a max 8, so I just decided to turn the Torch Runner account into another kind of high-level account, try and get it to a max 8 status. Stayed in WHF for 3 or 4 months, and then just kind of got to the point where I was playing a little too much. So I usually work anywhere between 11 and 14 hours a day, and I got to the point where I was playing the game itself probably for 3.5 hours. Just because I was trying to manage the Goodfellas, and then I was also a part of another clan family in WHF, and sometimes the war schedules weren't on in the same day, and then WHF constantly would get harder and harder wars. So I eventually took the Kayeffsea account, brought it back to Goodfellas, very briefly put Blue Summers over in WHF. That lasted about a month before finally I just decided to house all of my accounts kind of in the same clan family and brought them all back to Goodfellas. So that's kind of a higher level overview of my Clash history.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing. Really, really interesting stuff. It's good to see that you guys have experience elsewhere. You guys have been playing the game for a long time. It's good. I'll give you guys a brief history of myself. I've played for about 2 years now. I guess it'll be 2 years this month. And I started right around the start of Clan Wars. I've been in 3 or 4 clans. First one I joined, it was terrible. It was called the Watchmen, and it was one of those. I think we had about 60 or 70 wins, but we probably also had about 60 or 70 losses. It was just, but we thought we were good. That was like my Town Hall 6, 7, 8 time, and then that clan disbanded. All the members went to a new clan that I started called the Ho Riders, and we did that clan for about 3 or 4 months, and then. I won't go into details on what happened there, but it was just basically a failed merger that I kind of burnt out and said, to hell with this. I don't want anything to do with you guys anymore. And kind of just bounced around for a bit and then joined the Goodfellas. And it's been a good 8 months ever since. So that's my history. Not as exciting as you guys, but just for those that are listening to get an idea. Hope it sheds some light on what I've done. One of the things I hope to get out of this podcast is just giving people an insider look at each of the members of the clan. So maybe you could tell me a little bit about sort of your personal hobbies, your personal activities. You don't have to go into a lot of details, but it'd be great to hear sort of what you do, if you have any sports that you play or hobbies that you're into, or if you want to talk about your career. Onyx, I'll have you go first if you don't mind.
No problem. Like I said earlier, man, I'm a police officer. in a mid to large city in Arkansas. And my job is a canine handler, of course. So I'm really big into dog training. Um, Anywhere from obedience from your normal everyday pet to apprehension, personal protection. I can train it all, even search and rescue. When I'm not dealing with dogs, I deal with my 4-year-old son, which is like having a 2-year-old dog. He wants to get into everything and run wild. But we spend a lot of time at the softball park. Me and my brother, which is also a member of Goodfellas. Um, any sports related thing. I'll play softball, baseball, basketball, which I'm horrible at because I'm only 5'7". But running, anything outdoors, I will do. And betting on sports, love that too.
Do you ever win?
Yeah, every now and then I do. This year, football was horrible.
Did you who'd you pick to win the Super Bowl?
I actually picked the Broncos.
Awesome. So did I. I figured it was destined to happen, right?
Right.
Okay, so I have a 5-year-old border collie who's a bit of an asshole. So you can help me out with that. Is that what you're saying?
Heck yeah! Come on, shoot.
I'll hit you up in private after because this thing is just. My wife wants to shoot it.
No, all dogs are good, man. You just gotta learn how to treat them. My biggest thing is if you treat a dog like a human, he's gonna treat you like a dog. So you gotta treat a dog like a dog.
I like that. That's good. All right, Kevin, why don't you talk a little bit about? You already talked about your trading game hobbies and stuff, but any other hobbies that you currently do?
Not a lot ever since I moved out to Cleveland. Like I said, I just work a ton. I definitely have hobbies in terms of sporting stuff. So I watch a lot of sporting events. I'm a New York Yankees, New York Giants, New York Rangers fan. So anytime they come on national TV in Cleveland, I'll give them a watch. I do play some intramural sports when it comes around the time in the academic schedule. So just last week, I started playing some floor hockey. Um, Advanced to the I guess like the quarterfinal round. So I have that coming up this week. But I pretty much stay busy working primarily. Clash is kind of like my number one hobby, and then I have things that kind of come up every now and again, usually sports related. I'm also a sports gambler as well, so I do that on the side.
Be honest with me here, you guys. Kevin, you winning more than you lose, or?
Yeah, so I probably do it a little different than Mike. I run sports systems. So I run chase systems, usually with baseball and hockey. So what I'll do is I'll wait for a certain anomaly to happen. Maybe like a team like the St. Louis Cardinals like loses 5 games in a row, and then I'll chase them to win a game. So I'll bet on their sixth game for them to win, and if they lose that game, I'll double my bet for the next one. So it's very safe, conservative system. It's kind of backed with a bunch of history on how long do teams usually like what's like the longest a team has ever gone over. So I definitely do it a little bit more analytical.
That's interesting. I don't get too much into it anymore. I have a buddy that does like the fan graph and those fantasy ones, and he has matrix that he uses where he builds like 250 different stats that he tracks, and like he mostly does baseball. So he's telling me that he tracks like the umpires, on a third strike, are they more likely to call it if the pitch is to the inside or the outside, and all this kind of weird stuff. And I just couldn't imagine getting into that level of detail for online gambling. But I guess it's out there. So just curious to see, if you guys actually make any money off this stuff, or if this is just like a loss, like a hobby that you guys do to keep yourself off the streets.
No, I mean I've made some money off of it. But I do it totally different than Kevin. I usually pick an over under or something like that, just straight up.
Yeah, I started in 2012, and so basically my strategy of the year is the same. I put in $250 every January 1st, and then usually by the end of baseball season, I'll take all my money out, and I've been in the green all 4 years that I've done it so far.
All right, well, good luck with that, guys, and hopefully you keep winning. Another one I want to talk about is, in the Goodfellas, we're notorious for losing our shit over things. It happens, right? Am I right, Onyx? That's pretty accurate, right?
Oh yeah.
So we're notorious for losing our shit. I'm really curious to know what your guys' pet peeves are. Mine is absolutely people looning anything. I hate it. I don't like it. I think it's a great strat. I hate when I see people looning a base that doesn't have any giant double bombs. But what about you, Kevin? Why don't you tell me what your biggest pet peeve is?
God, I have such a laundry list, but I've been thinking all day about what my number one is. I would have to say that my number one are players that don't have any sort of like time management or kind of understanding of like certain like clan strategy. So I guess a perfect example would be the concept of TGF Origins, and then now that we've disbanded Origins, how that will change the Town Hall 8s. So when you have a clan like TGF Origins that only has Town Hall 8s, it doesn't really matter when the Town Hall 8s go, because you can go early, you can go late. The map is going to look the same regardless. But then when you put Town Hall 8s into a Town Hall 9-8 clan, and all of a sudden there's 10 Town Hall 8s on the bottom and you got 15 Town Hall 9s above you, that changes the concept of what you have to do. So instead of being open for 24 hours, you're kind of open for that first like 10 to 12 hours. And if you don't have the availability to go back to back early, just kind of common sense, like in my head, would be, well, then you should opt out. But time and time again, you'll see in like a 9-8 clan, someone will be like, oh, I can't attack tonight and I'm working tomorrow from, 8 to 2. So I'll get my attacks in the final 3 hours of war. And so a Town Hall 8 attacking the final 3 hours of war in a 9-8 clan is horrible if other Town Hall 8s don't do their job and clean the 8s. So sometimes it kind of goes unnoticed unless there's an issue. And then you're just kind of stuck because you don't really know what to do. So I would say my biggest pet peeve is time management, in terms of, we know that we're a 24/7 clan. We know that I'm going to spin the button as soon as the war day ends. So if you know that you have a really, really busy Tuesday and you're going to be working all day and you can't get your attack in at night because you got a date with the wife or the girlfriend or whoever, I don't understand why people don't have that kind of foresight to just hit the opt out button. Time and time again, you see people that are like, oh, like I got this coming up. They'll say it like on prep day, or like as soon as war starts, like, oh, I'll try and get my attacks in. I have like a very small window. And I'm like, why didn't you just hit the opt out button? So of all the pet peeves I have, that's probably number one for me.
Oh yeah, that's such a good one too. And it's like it really bothers me. Not maybe not as much as you, but it's like they basically pre-cook the same army every raid anyway. It's like you can't just duck out to the washroom for 5 minutes to get a raid in. Like you're just doing the same thing. You see people, they got their army camps full for like 16 hours.
Oh yeah, that's amazingly frustrating too. And not even that, but even people that like they'll get their first attack in, and then they'll put a farming army in their camps, and then they won't attack until like the very, very end of war, and they still have that same farming army in there. It's like, why did you pre-cook that? Like, unless you're boosting or something, there's no reason to cook a farming army in the middle of war day.
Yeah, and those listening, I can tell you for a fact that Kevin, the number of times that he has posted so and so hasn't gone yet, and they've still got Barch in their army camps or whatever, and like 6 hours later, he will check and see if it's still there. So he is telling the truth.
And I'll look at their collectors too, and I'll see like how many hours that it has been since they've logged on. I'm like, all right, so they've got 18,000 in their collectors, so clearly they haven't logged on in 7.25 hours. That corresponds with their last war tag, and so I'll go that deep with it.
All right, Onyx, what about you? I know you've got a bunch of them too, but can you pick just one?
Man, the one that burns me most is, and we're dealing with it a lot in Rising right now. If you have a perfect blueprint of a go-ho, upper 80s, low 90%, why the hell are you gonna come in and try to do a Laloon attack? That burns me every time. Just tweak that attack and hit it. Don't. It's a hog attack with a good blueprint. It's the hog attack. I don't care who you are. Don't go and balloon it. I don't even care if you 3-star it. Don't do it. Go with the blueprint. That burns me more than anything. And I don't know why. I mean, I broke tablets over it before.
That's hilarious. And it's funny too because it's like it's not even like it's the last base on the map. It's a base they liked and they wanted to call it, but maybe they missed it, so they're just gonna force their own strategy on it when maybe there's like a 95% blueprint just sitting there.
Exactly. And then when they fail it, then they're like, well, what happened? Well, dumbass, you didn't follow the blueprint. That's what happened.
I liked your comment about breaking tablets over it. That's I wish you were kidding, but we've all actually seen it happen live.
Yeah, it's happened.
Haven't you also broke your wrist doing shit like that too?
Well, I didn't break my wrist. I had surgery on my wrist from a broken wrist, and then slammed my hand down and loosened some hardware that the doctor put in, so I had to go in for another surgery, get it fixed. Life of Clash, right?
Yeah, tell me about it. All right. Do you guys got any more? If you wanna vent your frustration on another one, you're more than welcome to.
Oh yeah, I can list a million of them. So most certainly, like people that don't even scout the original base and don't bring like archers for corner huts, and then they lose by time, because then every single person in the world knows exactly what that person's thinking, and then like on the next attack, they'll still have corner huts, and they won't like fix the bringing the archers problem. It's like, what in the world are you doing? So people nowadays they get 3.5 minutes per attack, so now they kind of feel like they don't have to plan for the corner huts. But like back when it was 3 minutes, man, the number of times that we lost to corner huts is just like brutal. And it's just like when you combine that problem with the Onyx problem of people not even following blueprints, you'd have guys that would like go in 99% of base, lose to corner huts, and then you'd have like 4 or 5 guys that would go in afterwards, and it's like this should have been over 4 attacks ago, but for some reason it's not. Definitely drives me crazy every time. And then people that don't like watch replays, that's kind of like an instant. That'll put me in a bad mood in a heartbeat. I remember there was a war in Rising. I won't use any kind of specific names, but the guy went in. It was basically like a YOLO attack. It was very clear he hadn't watched the replay. Rising was down by 2, and I believe we owned the tiebreaker, and he was attacking a base that had already been 1-starred. And he starts his attack, and the second he drops his golems, I realized that he didn't watch the replay because he doesn't have any loons in his composition for a Tesla that we revealed was in the corner. So as soon as he starts the attack, I kick him out of the clan, like mid-attack, and the attack itself is horrible. And somehow, like, he doesn't even get the queen. He brought like 30 hogs, and somehow those hogs just path perfectly around the queen's radius. And then once they were done, like, they went and aggroed the queen immediately. And so he ends up 3ing the base. So by the time he gets out of his Rising attack, he is kicked out of the clan. I think my message to him was like, did not watch replay, did not have looting composition or something like that, and he was gone. Like, I was just like pissed that he didn't care enough to watch a replay.
Yeah, that sounds like a pet peeve, man. You're not even gonna give him a chance to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Because the way that I look at it, right, it's basically like telling me that I have to analyze this person's worth to the clan strictly based on their skill level, because they're not going to care enough to watch a replay to see that there's a Tesla in the corner. He obviously probably had his army already pre-cooked. He didn't feel like changing it out. So what that player is telling me is that player plays the game for him or herself and doesn't play it for the team. And so the issue that I have as the leader is I have to assess, like, does this person's skill make up for the fact that they're not going to do all these little intangibles that we say are super important? And the answer to the question at the time was no. So I just didn't even give him a chance because I didn't want that type of player around.
All right, man. I can totally agree, and I think everybody supports you on that. So I don't think there was too much of a fight. Onyx, I'll give you an opportunity. The floor is yours if you got another one you want to talk about, or we can move on.
I got one that, man, going into an attack half cocked, when you hit the attack button, there's this pretty little screen that shows up and sees if you have every troop and every spell. All you got to do is look at, 3 check marks. If they're green, you attack. If one of them's red, guess what? You're freaking missing something. Go fill your shit up. That bothers me.
All right, so take note of that, guys. Onyx will be watching, and he will be more than happy to call you out on it. So don't be surprised. Okay, we'll move on. So let's go a little bit into some of the gameplay changes that have happened over the last little while. Guys, I guess maybe it was maybe close to 3 months ago, there was a major update to the game, and that's where they changed sort of the loot system. They changed the star system for outside of war. They changed a whole lot of things that kind of impacted farming, kind of impacted, if you're a new Town Hall 10, they kind of changed some of the strategies on how you're going to get your loot. They brought in this whole village guard system, and they changed the shield system. So, it was hit with mixed reviews. I think the clan and the game in general had people on both sides of the fence. I'd like to, now that we've had a chance to sort of settle in, I'd like to get some of your opinions on how is it going now that we sort of, it's the new normal and everybody's kind of moved on. So, Kevin, I'd like you to go first if you have something to say.
Sure. It hasn't really affected me as much. I mean, the update was definitely received very negatively by I guess, the class community as a whole. For me, I've always been one of those guys that, like, I work with kind of what the game gives me. If I was a little bit closer to, like, the development team or something, like if I was someone like a Chief Pat or a Power Bang or something, that I had that connection with the development team, I might be a little bit more outspoken and I might kind of care a little bit more. But ultimately, I'm a player that's going to play this game, and no matter what they throw at a particular update. And so, to me, kind of worrying about kind of trivial things like, oh, now I have to move my town hall on the inside, never been a huge concern to me. The first thing that went through my head was the new shield system. And so it was very easy for me as a hardcore farmer to realize, like, okay, like, even if I get absolutely smashed every single attack and lose like 350,000 gold, 350,000 elixir, being able to attack through my shield is always going to make me net positive. So I didn't have to worry about it. I instantly knew that some of the other people in our clan, maybe guys that aren't going to get 3 attacks in during that 12-hour shield system, they were going to struggle a little bit more. But for me, I instantly saw that was kind of a benefit to me. So Town Hall on the inside didn't particularly matter. I like the kind of fixes that they made. All the fixes are pro player, just in terms of the 5-star system and getting that extra loot. It basically just free money at that point. And that's much more money than I would have gotten from 5 Town Hall snipes in gold. So that's another way that I kind of analyze it, right? So 5 Town Hall snipes in gold 2, which is where I've spent most of my life, would be 14,000 times 5. So that would be 70,000. And so now in gold, that bonus is like 170K. So I'm making kind of advancements there. I did go to Town Hall 10 at the time that the update came out. And even though the loot is definitely less than I got at Town Hall 9, overall it's pretty consistent. I'm able to kind of get like 1.5 million golden elixir per 1 hour boost. And the dark elixir, now that they've taken away the boosted drills, kind of goes up and down. I hit a boost earlier today, and I think I got like 4,000 dark, and I hit one last night, and I got like 14,000. So that can kind of be a little bit more variance than I like. The 1 hour boost, also fantastic just for my schedule. I'm able to kind of get an early morning boost sometimes. Just being able to sit down for an hour instead of having to have a 2 hour block has allowed me to play more days. So that's been helpful. So overall, for me, I think a lot of positive changes.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I mean, for me, the first thing I see when it came out is that this shield system is completely exploitable. I mean, you can get like a 12 or a 16-hour shield, and then you can hit 3 or 4 times depending on how you time it. Then you still get your village guard. You can hit once during that, and then you can buy a 2-hour guard after. So I mean, you can essentially get, I don't know what that would work out to be. I think I was getting somewhere between 6 and 8 attacks and free attacks for every single time I was hit, like once per day. So I mean, it was just, I found that it was easy for me to push. I mean, I was hitting levels higher than I ever hit before. It was easier for me to get loot. I did walls at a rate that was maybe 10 times faster than I ever did before. So I've actually been very happy with the update. It's changed. It fits into my schedule a lot better, and so I'm kind of on your side. So, Onyx, what do you think? I mean, I know you're more of a play all day kind of guy, so maybe it hasn't been as big of an impact. But what's your opinion on it now?
Yeah, actually, I like it quite a bit. I've never pushed before, but since I'd always town hall sniper, just elixir or collector, barge on that. But since everybody started putting their town halls in, and I started pushing, and it's actually, I think it's actually helped me in wars more because I was doing the stoned EQ go ho stuff, and pushed all the way up to champs 1, and it actually taught me a little more hog pathing because I am attacking more, and I bought a weak shield, so I attacked a ton without even having to worry about getting attacked. So it helped me out a lot, and I knocked out all my defenses, and like you said, I cleared a ton of walls. I can't remember, it was like 48 walls in 7 days or something I did. That's me playing 6 to 8 hours a day.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest thing too is as long as the developers are doing large improvements to the game, eventually we should expect to see something large happen for the warring community as well. That's kind of what I'm hoping for, and I'm hoping to see something maybe in the next update or the next two updates that's going to be something drastic to kind of something as drastic as the last one that we just went through, but maybe more for the clan war scene. So
Yeah, I mean, I like updates, even if they're not for me, because if it's the same thing, it just gets boring.
yeah, I mean, I remember when the Lava Hound came out, and just forum post after forum post about how crappy this troop was and how it's never going to change the game and its offense is way too weak, and then here it is now. I mean, it's like a staple in pretty much everyone's arsenal. All right, anybody got any more opinions, comments about the update? If not, we'll move on to Goodfellas specific war topic.
I think I covered everything.
All right. So one of the big debates that's been raging on for the last 4 or 5 months, it might even be longer than that. I'm just going off of where it's really picked up steam, is whether or not the Goodfellas should be like stay in this 8-9 war bracket, Town Hall 8-9 war bracket, or if we should be going into the Town Hall 9-10 bracket. I know we have a couple of Town Hall 10s, and we kind of pepper them in both in Rising and in Goodfellas, but really we're still essentially a Town Hall 8-9 clan, and we do very well at that. I mean, we win, like we have when we were just 9-10, I think we had 47 wins in a row or something. I forget the exact number. But when we went to the 9-10 bracket, things got a little harder, right? We started drawing some of the modding clans. We started drawing some of the clans that were equally skilled, and these wars went both ways, right? So we'd win as many as we would lose. The debate has been: are we better off to be a losing clan in a harder bracket, or to be a 50-50 clan in a harder bracket, or are we better off to be, a 95-97% winning clan in a lower bracket? So I know that there's a lot of split in the clan, there's a lot of split in leadership, and I'm sure there's a lot of split in this chat alone. So, Kevin, I want you to go first. I know you've got experience in both brackets, more than Onyx or I. So if you could go first, and then I'll have Onyx comment.
Sure. So in my time in Emphatic Elite and WHF, both of those clans were 9-10. There were no 8s in either one of those clans, so I got very familiar with the 9-10 bracket, and kind of facing a lot of modding clans, more so in WHF than in Emphatic Elite. But kind of the hardcore message that was drilled into me by PB was always, when you face a modding clan, you kind of just you kind of look at the entire map, and let's say that there are 5 Town Hall 10s at the top, and then there are 20 Town Hall 9s. Your goal is to 3 all the 9s, 2 all the 10s, and that's kind of your baseline. Like if you hit that, that's kind of a successful war. And that seemed to motivate people, because that was what we shot for. We had Town Hall 10s that maybe had to dip every now and again. But ultimately, that's just the kind of the name of the game. The second thing that I noticed about being in those clans is that because you do kind of get these harder matchups, you simply have to invest more time. So even someone like me who has 3 accounts, I've got over 2,000 war stars kind of total, doesn't change the fact that in tough wars, I need to spend time kind of breaking down these anti-3 bases, because simply being exposed to them doesn't make me some expert, doesn't make me go quicker when I break them down. So I kind of noticed that when I was over in WHF. Anytime that we drew a hard war, I kind of expected to have to do at least 2 hours of planning on top of the actually executing the attacks and stuff like that. So overall, kind of on a 24-hour war day, you're looking at about 3 hours of planning, because lots of people on preparation day switch their bases. So almost until war day starts, you don't even look at the enemy bases. And so that is, I feel, the biggest issue with Goodfellas. I think at the Town Hall 9-8 bracket, we do kind of run over competition. But you see, lots of guys, if you look up and down our roster, there could be days where we don't hear from some of those middle tier kind of Town Hall 9 guys. Even guys like Arbor or the King, even every now and again, we can go a few days without seeing them get dedicated feedback, because they don't have to do it for these easier wars. And then in the 9-10 bracket, you get harder wars more often, and you see that their guys aren't prepared to do those like 2-3 hour long kind of super efficient breaking down bases. So in wars like that, I feel like we need to have everyone on TeamSpeak. We need to have 2 or 3 people in all the different breakout rooms, and I feel like that is what we missed in our first kind of trip to the straight Town Hall 9-10 bracket. I'm sure we'll visit it again at some point in the future, but we were in it for a month, and I think our overall war record was, I think, 6-4. And overall, what I saw was kind of a lack of that commitment issue from even some long-standing members who basically said, like, look, I've got like 15 to 20 minutes to plan my attacks per war day, is the feedback that I got from them in private PMs. So as the leader, it was my job to kind of figure out, do I bring the 8s back and make it so that everyone can kind of play with 15, 20 minutes of prep time? Or do I say everyone that's basically saying that they can't get in 1, 2, 3 hours of prep time during these harder wars, I kind of kick them to Rising. So I was kind of in a lose-lose situation. So I'll kind of start with that, and then I'll get the conversation going with you guys as well, and kind of get your guys' thoughts on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's a discussion that I've seen over and over again, right? I mean, and you and I have talked about it in the past, and other people have as well. And it's a question that's hard to answer, right? It's easy to talk about. It's hard to actually come up with an answer. And I know Onyx's opinion is pretty strong, and it comes down to that. Are you better to take a step backwards and maybe lose a little bit and expose the problems and then fix them? Or are we better to take a step back and hope that they take a step back as in go down to an easier bracket and train more? So I guess that's kind of maybe where we are right now. And Onyx, do you want to comment on that? Because I feel like that's sort of where you're coming from.
Yeah, I believe you don't see anybody ever progressing, taking the easy road out. I think you gotta lose to win. Us dropping down, yeah, these wars are fun. When you're 3-star and stuff. But I think, like Kevin said, I think the more we're down here in this 9, 8, 10 bracket, more people are getting just nonchalant. I mean, we're hitting bases. We should be 3-starring these on the first attack. But we're sometimes it's taking us 2 or 3 to hit them, and I think we're losing skill by dropping back down to the 10, 9, 8 bracket. It's just everybody has to be on the same page. What do we want the Goodfellas to be? Do we want to be elite, or do we want to be a good warring clan that can beat up on internet bases? I mean, the people that don't want to do it, maybe they need to go find a clan that they like, hitting the general.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair, right? I mean, right now, though, I look on TeamSpeak, I see 11 people on. I see a couple people on GroupMe that are basically leaving for the night to go to bed that would be on. So, I mean, I feel like we're close. I don't know if I'm not 100% convinced the dedication is there yet. I know even myself sometimes it's hard to get up, It's hard to do the 2-3 a.m. TeamSpeak grinds because that's what it takes, right? But I mean, it's a good question. Kevin, do you want to kind of touch on what Onyx is talking about and maybe give your opinion on it?
Yeah, so I agree with what Onyx is saying. I feel like going down to the Town Hall 9 or 10, 9, 8 bracket is not helping us get any better. Hitting kind of super symmetrical, mostly compact bases, it almost like draws out like different skills, right? Like when you hit compact bases, you need to understand that your heal spells are kind of more clustered together than they would be like on an anti-3. So there's definitely a certain way to even attack these bases that's just so different when they're actually anti-3 bases. But I guess to kind of follow on the points, I have written down here, I took some statistics just to kind of prove my point, I guess, in terms of just like overall level of dedication. Let me see where it is here. So it looks like 2 wars ago, we faced a mostly go white clan. And so only one of our bases in that war was 3-starred. But the person that got their base 3-starred by a go wipe / go wee wee attack used the exact same war base in the next war instead of just changing their bases. 2 wars ago, 4 of our guys got 3-starred. 2 of them got 3-starred by Goho on the first attack. Both of them used the exact same base in the next war. So there's just not that level of desire or care to say, can I alter the pathing to the bombs a little bit? Can I build a new base? What is it about kind of current metagame stuff that I should be thinking about? I see a lot of Goodfellas players as 24-hour war players. And when I say 24-hour war players, I basically mean that war starts for them when war day starts. And kind of when we're in preparation day, that's kind of when you're preparing for future tough wars. Are you building bases? When you look at your clan castle, do you have the right troop in it? I still see some people down in the Town Hall 8 and kind of lower 9s that they'll have like 15 barbs and 10 goblins in their clan castle. I'm like, well, so what purpose does that serve? Like, does 15 barbs and 10 goblins serve the purpose that your base was designed, or did you just randomly throw 15 and 10 in there? I see guys that have, I get in 2 loons as their clan castle request, and it's a very easy clan castle lurch, so a very easy double poison. And so that makes me wonder, like, well, why don't you have a hound in your clan castle? Because you do have such an easy lure. So I see kind of this kind of overall kind of laziness, like I think players kind of have anti-3 bases, and they kind of figure I'm good for the next foreseeable few months, until they come out with like some sort of huge update that forces me to put my AQ back in the center or something. I don't have to think about this game every single day. That's what's missing, that level of intensity.
Okay, so my question to that is that do you think that would change if the competition changed?
Do I think that mentality would change if we're in the Town Hall 10-9 bracket?
Yeah, because I mean, right now it's obvious that you can get away with that, right? Because it's you just said that there's in 2 wars there was six 3-stars against us, right? So, I mean, you could almost put an internet base up there and probably be okay. So I wonder, is it sort of would the mentality change when the need arrives, or doesn't? What comes first, right? The mentality or the environment?
I think the mentality comes first. I think you saw it, or I think we saw it in our first, when we had Donate 2.0 into Taste of Terror, whatever those 2 back-to-backs were, Donate 2.0 into somebody else. You definitely saw guys that kind of had the same bases. Or they changed to a base that they already known has gotten 3-starred, So there was, when we had the One Hive Genesis War, we got perfected. All of our Town Hall 9s got 3-starred. And then in that following war, almost no one changed their base because they're just like, I'm just going to throw this up. I think the mentality becomes, well, it's One Hive Genesis, so therefore most of our competition is not going to be able to 3-star this base. So why would I retire the base, or why would I work on other bases? Or the mentality is, well, One Hive Genesis is really good, so even if we face another clan that knows how to hit anti-3s, they won't be as good as One Hive Genesis, so therefore I'm just going to kind of keep this base. I think that the mentality is, I think people think that the Goodfellas is an elite clan because we win a lot, and I don't think they truly understand kind of the time commitment and the dedication that it takes, the kind of the higher level of thinking about this game. Like even when I say something like a metagame shift, so like things like golems and CCs have become huge, and kind of putting them near the Archer Queen, kind of the offset queen. I don't see players that are kind of those future thought thinkers. Like, what's the next metagame shift that we can talk about to stay ahead? And then once someone says, like, oh, here's a possible thing that we could do as a clan to move forward, where's the buy-in from everyone to say, okay, now let's all start working on defensive bases, or let's all start working on this particular attack strategy that we've been thinking about. So I definitely think mentality comes before environment.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I mean, I think what's important to know right now is that, I mean, we're not saying anything that hasn't already been discussed, right? So I mean, there's really nothing that we're not arguing, we're not fighting, so we can pretty much say anything here, and it's pretty much an open forum. So, Onyx, you got an opinion on that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And like you said, there's 10 or 11 on TeamSpeak, but if you're on TeamSpeak talking about a basketball game, or just shooting the bullshit, which I'm all good for, because I bullshit with the best of them, trust me. But just because you're on TeamSpeak, I mean, if you have a dude on TeamSpeak for 12 hours, but he don't attack for 18 hours into war, then what the hell is he doing on TeamSpeak for 12 hours? You know what I mean? I think.
Oh, yeah. That would probably be my second biggest pet peeve in the game.
Yeah, if people are on there trying to talk over war plans and war strategy, let them. I mean, I know you can go over them breakout rooms and all that, but I don't know. I think the perception of just being on TeamSpeak is I'm being proactive in the clan, and that's not it at all. If you're, if you're just trying to look busy, you know what I mean. I'd rather have 10 solid dedicated players than 50 that are halfway dedicated. That's why I'm like, I'd rather stick with the 10-9, and if they don't cut it, hell, if I don't cut it, put a boot in me. You know what I mean? Because we're never going to get to that elite clan if we don't stick to the rules and start holding people accountable.
Okay, well that's fair. I mean, I'm gonna end it there because we could talk about this all night. I think the passion's there. I think we all want it. It's just now we need to show that we can handle the extra workload and like Kevin said, that this is going to happen again, right? I mean, we are going to be a 9-10 clan. We're going to have, I think, 4 or 5 Town Hall 10s in the next month. I mean, it's happening whether we're ready for it or not. So I think it's time that we put our money where our mouth is and stop talking about being good and actually just do it.
Exactly.
All right. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about before I send us, call it for the night? I'm going to take that as a no. That's good. So I got a little game here, guys. I got a little game here. So I'm going to do is each of you are going to get a chance. I'm going to call out like a word or a phrase, and you guys have probably heard of this game before. And you're going to just say the first thing that pops into your head. So, oh yeah, I know. I made this game specifically for you, Mike, because I know you're a straight shooter. So, like an example, if I say, I don't know, crispy, and the first word that pops in your head is cream, then say that, right? So that's the idea. You guys understand?
Yep.
I do.
All right. So I have high expectations for you guys. So Kevin, I'm going to have you go first. It's a bit of a mix. There's some Clash stuff here. There's some fun stuff. So ready to go?
I am.
All right, buddy. First word that pops into your head, Clash of Clans.
Addicted.
Taylor Swift.
Hot.
Canada.
Fuck.
Hero down.
2-star.
Hibby.
1-star.
Oh, that worked out perfect. That's exactly
It really
how
did.
I thought
That
it
was
was
awesome.
Oh man, I scripted that to go down that way, and I'm so happy that it did. All right, Onyx, man, your turn. You ready?
Yep.
All right, buddy. Carrie Underwood.
Hot.
Unfilled donation requests.
Kick their ass out.
Vainglory.
Gay.
TeamSpeak.
Have to.
And the last one for you, Hibby.
Dumbass.
All right, man, that's great. Do you guys want to, Kevin? I know you got a bit of a YouTube channel started. Do you want to plug it or?
Sure. The channel is Kayeffsea Gaming. So Kayeffsea spelled Kayeffsea, and gaming. Just kind of doing it a little bit more Hulk style. So there might be some members that don't even know who Hulk was, but back in the day, Hulk was the guy that kind of put out unedited YouTube videos, and I'm very much like that. I just kind of hit the record button, I talk, and if I make mistakes as I go, I'm not going to go back and edit it out because I need to make sure that all of my time is being used efficiently. So you'll kind of get raw thoughts, and I'll kind of watch a lot of attacks live and kind of commentate as I go. So hopefully the clan is enjoying them so far, and I hope to put out roughly about one every day or maybe every other day, depending on kind of how it starts off.
Nice, and you're very gentle on them too. I mean, I think I've been roasted once. I think Onyx has been roasted. Basically, nobody's safe. So I'm looking forward to staying off your shit list on these videos. I think going forward.
Right.
I'll do my best.
All right, guys. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Onyx, for talking with me. It's been a great time. I look forward to recording or editing this and getting it up and seeing what people think. So it's been a good time. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Later, man.
Later.